So, how are you, Arjeet, now? How do you feel?
I'm feeling much better. It's been 4.5 years now. So yeah, every day has been different. Every year has been different. So I had stage 4 rare type of blood cancer. I was completely shocked. I'm just in my 30s, early 30s, and now my life is completely flipped. But it was not an easy journey.
So, did you feel any symptoms? Like, why did you go through that?
I was told that my cancer is really rare and we need to start the treatment ASAP. You don't have much time left. I want to live. I'm just done. I want to live and survive. 100 days of that, time frame would be very risky, and any small infection can cause death.
Namaskar and welcome to Fem Forward podcast that celebrates strength, resilience, and courage of women who overcome incredible challenges. I'm Smriti Agarwal, your host, and today we're honored to have Harjeet Kaur, a remarkable woman, a warrior who has won her battle against the stage 4 blood cancer. She is now dedicated to empowering others. As we celebrate women empowerment, we are reminded that true strength relies not in the absence of challenges, but in the courage to face them head on. Harjeet Kaur is symbolic of this courage, and we are thrilled to share her story with you. Let's dive in and hear from Harjeet Kaur herself as she shares her journey of survival, resilience, and empowerment. Welcome, Harjeet, to the show. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my journey. And I'm so delighted that, I'll be talking about my journey. And thank you for your kind words.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure everybody who is going to listen to us, to your story, will feel empowered and will, get that ray of hope back in their lives.
Hope so.
So, how are you, Harjeet, now? How do you feel?
I'm feeling much better. It's been 4.5 years now. So yeah, every day has been different. Every year has been different. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good now. Thank you.
Right. So, is there any ongoing treatment as well, or?
No, so my treatment ended in 2020. I had my treatment. My treatment started in August 2019, and with the initial chemotherapy, and then I had a stem cell transplant in 2020. So that was the last treatment I ever had. But since then, I've been having my 3 months blood work and follow ups and stuff like that because I had stage 4, which was a rare blood cancer. So I have to go for my yearly scans. So right now, I am no evidence of disease. So there's no evidence of cancer in my body, but I still have to go through the follow up.
Yeah. So, do you feel that, it's like a second birth? It's like life is giving you a second chance?
Me, yes. So this thing started when I was just 31. So I moved to Canada in 2018. You know, everybody has this dream when they go out to settle down in a new country, having a dreams of having a family, having a house, having a good career. But for me, it was totally different. And in 2019, August, when I was told that I had stage 4 rare type of blood cancer, I was completely shocked. I could not take that thing, right? And I felt like I'm just in my 30s, early 30s, and now my life is completely flipped. So it was a challenge. My husband was there with me at that time. And my mom, my dad, my parents, they flew from India and they were there to take care of me. But it was not an easy journey.
So did you feel any symptoms? Like, why did you go through that?
So I had fevers for 3 months. So
Continuous.
yes, I had ongoing fevers for 3 months, and which ranges from uh in India it would be like 102 to 103 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God.
So I had like fevers, high fevers, and every time I used to go to the doctor, I was told that it might be a viral or a flu, matlab infection hai, but it will just go. So, but it was challenging for us because I could feel that there was something not right in my body and I could not eat anything. I could not do anything. Imagine if you have a high fever for 3 months, you're not able to do anything. So that was just the fevers, but I had to go through a lot of other tests and scans and biopsies and surgeries, but nothing came out. And when it came out, I was told that my cancer is really rare. Only 150 cases have been reported globally. And it was complicated with other condition called HLH. So I was the only person in that hospital who was diagnosed with that type of cancer.
What is HLH?
It's called, so my whole diagnosis is subcutaneous panniculitis T-cell lymphoma, which is part of blood cancer, which is type of blood cancer. And HLH is an autoimmune disease. So my body was fighting with cancer and the HLH.
Oh my God.
So that's the reason it was very complicated, and it took them a lot of time to diagnose that. And as soon as they got the diagnosis, they had to treat it because I didn't had much time left because I was already on stage 4.
So, can you tell us of one of those unexpected lessons that you might have learned during this journey?
With my experience, because when I was diagnosed, obviously I listened to my body a lot. I listened to things that were happening, but I feel whenever something is not right, just don't take it easy. Listen to your body. Listen what your body's
Telling you, yeah.
um, health is something very important, right? And sometimes people just take it in very easy way. Oh, I just had fever, I just had cold cough, but you never know what's going on. So I would always say to everyone, just listen to your body. Be your own health advocate when it comes to something. Just don't be your own doctor.
And that is the problem with Indians, especially. They feel something is wrong and they just Google and they decide for themselves that what should be done.
I did Google too.
And they feel their own medication.
When I was diagnosed, I did Google and it showed me a lot of different things. It showed me that I don't have time. I might not survive within, for a few months. I just had 3 months or 5 months left. But I remember my oncologist used to tell me, like, stop seeing Dr. Google, And we have the advanced studies, we have research, we have everything, the medical system has changed in past so many years, right? So there have been research going on, studies going on. So I know, like sometimes people think that, oh, हम घर के नुस्खे से ठीक हो जाएंगे, हम उससे ठीक हो जाएंगे. And maybe yes or maybe not. I did receive calls from our family members saying that, give her this, give her that, give her that. But we listened to them, but we were more listening to my oncologist. And because of that medical treatment, I'm here. So I trust that process, right? So I feel like people should listen to their doctors. And if they feel that something is not right, just speak to your family doctor about it.
Yeah. People start feeling scared, that there is a fear inside them. But it's more important to overpower that fear and actually pay that visit to the doctor at the right time.
I know everybody is scared of listening to these words. When I heard this word that you had cancer, I was scared. I was shit scared. If I would have wanted, I would have listened to the doctors and I could have just, choose different paths or something like that. And that's okay. That's very normal. That's a human nature, right? But we have to overcome that fear, right? We have to overcome those challenges.
So, what were your first thoughts? Can you recall them? Do you remember?
So, my first thought, I was in hospital for almost 2.5 months before my diagnosis. And when I still remember, it was 3 o'clock Canada time. And I was in the room and we were getting all the discharge papers ready because we were planning to take me back to India because nobody has any answers to my fever. And all of a sudden, the doctor rushed into the room because they did my skin punch biopsy like the week before, and they got the results. And my mom was standing next to me. And she walked in and she's like, Harjeet, we don't want you to leave. I was like, what happened? She's like, I'm sorry to say, but you have stage 4 rare blood cancer and we need to start the treatment ASAP. You don't have much time left. At that moment, Smriti, I felt that it's over.
It's over.
Because all these stories we've been hearing since our childhood that someone has cancer will not survive. Probably cancer is something which is a dead end, right? And for me, it was more like a stage 4. So everything which was going in my mind was probably, I might not survive. This is the end. But seeing my mom listening to those words, and she started crying, and I could not do anything. And I could not react because मुझे लगा कि अगर मैं रो पड़ी, तो everyone around me will go down with me. So I never. I used to cry when I was alone. I used to have those moments when I was not with everyone around me. So those moments were there, of course. So, but I didn't wanted to bring those moments in front of my parents, in front of my mom, or in front of my husband, because I wanted to have that strong face in front of them. But obviously, I had bad thoughts too.
So, were there any unconventional or creative ways of coping up with this journey?
So during that time when I was diagnosed, I was completely numb. I was completely lost. I lost connections with all my close ones. I was not talking to anyone. I completely left the social media. I was not involved. I was just dealing with that kind of trauma at that time, that I was thinking that I might not survive this. I might not come out of this. But having that strong face was one thing, and having my family around, right? Without my husband, without my parents, I wouldn't have been here today. So they were my strength all the time. The creative part of those things were, so when I was in Canada, I came across this organization called Young Adult Cancer Canada.
Okay.
So it's an organization for all young people who are diagnosed with cancer. So they do a lot of creativity programs and stuff. You meet online, you do bingo, you do different games and stuff, and then they do arts and therapy and stuff like that. So I did join that. I did join their events online. It was really therapy for me at that time because I could connect to those people who were going through the similar challenges. And I think their and my thoughts were very similar, right? Because sometimes my own family, my own husband could not understand what I was going through, and I could not express myself, right? Because cancer doesn't happen to you, it happens to your whole family, right? So that it affects the whole family. So, yeah.
I don't know if India has these kind of support groups.
So that's a challenge because I have been advocating and talking about it in Canada. And when I finished my treatment, I was lost completely. And I wrote my own blog. I wrote my own cancer journey, thinking that if I don't survive, I want to share my experience and thought with my family, with my husband. And that all happened during a stem cell transplant. When I had my stem cell transplant, I was completely isolated for 30 days in hospital and during COVID. And that was the most toughest part of my journey. And that time I wrote it. I wrote my experience thinking that what if I don't live? What if I don't come out of it? But I want my husband and my family to read my experience. So that's how it all started. And I had no idea that we had a lot of organizations in Canada at that time who support these people. So, yeah, Canada has a lot of these organizations. But when I came to India after 5 years of my treatment and COVID, I was looking for these organizations. I was looking for organizations who support cancer patients. There are none. There are none. There are some organizations, there are some cancer patients in India who are talking about it and who are making a difference. So we need more of those people to spread awareness and talk about these things, right? And these days, a lot of young adults are going through cancer.
Yes. So, what does the stem cell transplant entail and who can be your donor?
So when I was diagnosed with stage 4, the initial treatment was chemo. So I had chemotherapy for every 3 months, and I had very aggressive and painful chemotherapy. But somehow after 3 chemos, I had a PET CT scan.
Okay.
And it turned out to be that some of the cancers were reacting to chemo, but some of the cancer cells were not reacting. They were so rigid and aggressive that they were not getting better after chemo because of the HLH condition, because I had complicated situation. So my oncologist called us and he was like, I still remember sitting with him. So, sorry. I still remember sitting with him and he was like, Harjeet, what's your appetite? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you want to do? And I still remember I told him that I want to live. I'm just done and I want to live and survive. And then at that moment, he said that we just have two options for you. One, we keep on giving you chemotherapy and see how your body reacts to it, and we don't know, right? And the second was to give you a stem cell transplant. So I had no idea what does that mean. So he explained us. So we look for a donor. We look for a donor cells, and that your bone marrow will be, completely new. So, and they asked me if I have a sibling. So my brother, he's a younger brother to me, and he was my stem cell donor.
So I think only your siblings can be a donor.
So first is a sibling. If sibling doesn't match, then there is a stem cell donor registry around the world.
Okay.
Where a lot of people, they donate their stem cells.
Okay.
So that people can save someone else's life. So but luckily my brother was my 100% match. So everything worked out for us. But that was the most painful treatment I had. So everything was planned to be happened in March 2020. And during that time, COVID happened, and globally, things changed. Pandemic happened, and we were told that Harjeet needs to get admitted to the hospital by herself, and no one is there for her. So the plan was to kill my immune system, to give me everyday chemotherapy and radiation for 7 days, so that they can kill my complete immune system. So, like, all the cells in my body were supposed to be killed by giving me harsh chemotherapy and radiation, and then putting my brother's cells to my body. So, which takes a lot of time. Sometimes your body can reject those cells. So, but it took, so they told us that 100 days of that, time frame would be very risky, and any small infection can cause death. So they told us, they warned us everything before, that there might be a 20 to 30% chance of death. Sometimes body can reject the stem cell, but because, he's 100% matched, so there is a chance that, she might survive. So though that's how the medical process works. And a lot of people, they are not even aware about this, that how someone's stem cell can save someone's life. And because of my brother, I always say, because of him, I have this second chance to live and, survive. And I'm so thankful and so grateful for him to do this for me.
But I really feel that, people should get this awareness and they should donate.
Yeah. And over there now, what I've been seeing is like a lot of new kids, their parents are doing their stem cell donations. Yeah, they're keeping their stem cells, so preserving it. So my brother's stem cells have been preserved for another 10 years, thinking that, because my cancer is rare and it was complicated, so there were chances that I could get relapse in 1 or 2 years. So they have saved his stem cell. So anytime I need, it's ready for them to just do a stem cell transplant. It's painful.
But it gives you life.
It gives you life, but it was too painful. If you ask me if I want to go back, no.
Of course.
I would rather die than taking a stem cell transplant. So it was so painful for me. I was on painkiller pumps every single minute.
So from the day of the transplant, how much time did you take to feel normal?
So I was bedridden for 6 months. I could not. So after stem cell, I came home. I could not walk. I could not eat. I was on feeding tube for a month during my treatment. And we had a house which had stairs. I could not take stairs. My brother and my husband used to lift me up and take me down. My mom used to give me shower, change my clothes. I could not do anything. I was like newborn. I was in Canada. I came to India in 2023 after COVID and cancer, to see my grandparents, to see my family, to see my in-laws, because I could not travel during COVID and cancer. So because my immune system was so compromised. So when you go through stem cell and when you go through chemotherapy, your immune system is so compromised that he can get any infection. And because of COVID, we had to take a lot of restrictions. Like, I could not go out. My brother and my husband, they lost their job during COVID, so they were home. My mom, dad were there. So, we 5 people used to stay, but we used to take a lot of precautions, because any single mistake could have, just given me an infection, and that could give me something else. So that was one thing which we took care of, and but it took a lot of time. I would say every year has been different. I've seen myself growing every single year from 2020 to 2024. I've seen myself.
Were there any side effects also? I mean, I'm sure there must have been.
Because my chemo was so aggressive, and I was just in my 30s, so I did lost my fertility during the treatment because of the aggressive treatment I had, and I didn't had much time left to freeze my eggs, and because my condition was so worse. And during the treatment, I did lost my right eye vision because of the drugs, chemo drugs, and my immune system. So there have been long-term side effects. I still feel a lot of pain. There are days when I'm like totally down with, pain and fatigueness and tiredness. And I did took therapy for last, it's been 4 years now. I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress. And during that stage of time when I was so alone, when I came out of my journey of my stem cell, I was completely lost and quiet because I had no idea what was happening. The physical change, the mental change, chemo literally changed me. I lost my hair, I lost my eyebrows, my physical appearances totally changed. I could not look at myself at that time. So, those things happen at the age of 30s, and so I was completely lost, and I had to ask for help. I had to ask for help from my doctor. So I have been into therapy for the last 4 years, which really helped me. So there have been long-term side effects, and it takes a lot of time. It's not easy. What you see is not the same, right? So yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm on some medications, which is helping me. And as I mentioned, every day is different for me. It's not the same. If I'm good today, I might not be good yet tomorrow. So I've seen those changes in me.
So, is there anything particular that you're proud of accomplishing during or after the cancer?
During the treatment, I was not doing anything, honestly. I felt like I was in a full time job where I was going to the doctor, I was getting my treatment, I was taking medication, I was doing everything which was told to me. And once I was done with the treatment, at that time, I felt that, I need to do something. I need to write about my journey. I need to ask for help. I need to share my thoughts. I need to deal with my mental trauma. So those were the times when I started talking, when I joined different organizations based in Canada, where I wanted to connect with a lot of other people who are having a similar challenges, during this journey. So that really helped me in healing. And I felt the more I talked, the more I healed. There were times that my own family and my, husband, they could not understand me, which is very normal. I think like the things I have gone through, we have gone through the same, but there are more challenges which I have faced, right? So so it took me a lot of time to overcome those things. And during those things, I did, met so many people who had a similar experiences, who were young like me, had faced this, all those things. So I felt the connections within them. The one thing which I want to do now, because it has been almost 1.5 year, or probably more than that, that I have been socially very active on sharing my journey through my social media, through different platforms. I have collaborated with different organizations where I talk about my journey, just to provide that hope and resilience to other people, that there is always hope on the other side of it. And especially within the South Asian community, we have a huge stigma around cancer. We don't talk about it. We say cancer is a bad karma or it's a dead end. So I just want to make an impact for those people, and for those people in this community where, where we really want to have cancer as an open conversation.
I mean, of course, you're a ray of hope for all those who are going through this, because usually, even if you watch a movie, if there's somebody who's got cancer, that person is bound to die by the end of it. So, there is a perception around it. And since you were a survivor, you are that warrior, of course, your stories are a huge inspiration.
And you're right. I've seen people losing the battle, younger than me, older than me. but you should never lose hope. And Bollywood movies and Hollywood movies, they never shows the other side of it, right? But I feel uh, if someone is diagnosed with cancer, you should always support that person. You should always be on that side of that person, right? You never know, your small help can, help that person to cope with that journey. So I just would request everyone, like, whoever is listening, like, please never lose hope and don't feel shy to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
So when you say this, what do you think the healthcare providers or the family should do to better support people who have cancer?
The healthcare providers, I can't talk about them much because I am based out of Canada, and in India it's totally different. The much thing, I don't know how it works in India, the healthcare system, but with the family, I would always say that be their support. Like I had my family as my support system. They were there for me all the time, right? But the one thing which was missing was a talk about cancer, a talk about my pain, a talk about their experience. We never talked. We were there to take care of each other. We were there to take, like my dad, my mom, everybody was there to take care of me, provide me food, take me to the hospital, give me the medication. But no one talked.
No one talk.
No one talked s- any day about what I was going through, what they were going through. We never talked. And that's the problem.
Who was the biggest supporter in your family?
I think everyone.
Everyone
The
played their
big support was my husband. And without him, I won't have come so far. Then my parents, his parents, my brother. Because of him, I wouldn't have been here, right? So my family was there for me and friends, close friends. But it's just that there was always a lack of communication, a lack of talk. And I understand that was a fear of talking. They don't know how to speak. Sometimes people don't know what to talk to that person who's diagnosed with cancer. We don't know how to start the conversation, right?
So, one more question I have. How has this journey changed your perception towards time and mortality?
I feel like I am completely a new person now. If I compare myself from my past life to this life, I am completely changed. Cancer has taught me a lot of different things, how to respect and be grateful for this life. You know, I I'm so blessed to have this second chance in life, which a lot of people are, don't get it unless you face it, you don't see it, right? So I think it has taught me a total different perspective to life, and I appreciate that, that I'm able to help and support other people through my journey. When I share my journey or express my story to the world, I feel like when I get simple messages that, my story is helping them, giving them hope of survival, that helps me. I feel like I'm doing something which can help other people out there. And this is one thing which I really want to like keep doing. The more I talk, the more I share my journey, I'm healing myself. And I'm also, giving hope that to that other person and empowering those people. So I think that's one thing which has, changed. I was never the same person. Like I was never like this person before. So yeah.
Hope is a big thing.
Hope for me is a big word. I mean, for me, it is everything. I'm just providing that hope and resilience to other people right now.
So, what are your future goals and aspirations? Where do you see yourself?
Uh, so I have been, with all this past during my treatment and, during stem cell, I didn't do anything about it. And when I came out of my journey, I was completely lost. And I thought of, giving back to the community. I wanted to help others. I wanted to connect with others because I was just feeling so lost in that cancer world that I had no idea where my life is going because I was just 32, 33, and at that stage of my life where I had a career, where I had so many dreams, but everything shattered. So when I started writing my blog, I shared it and it went viral. People liked it, people reached out to me, and I thought, why don't I talk about it? Why don't I share my journey through social media? Why don't I connect with people and And that's how it all started. So I started connecting with a lot of other organizations in Canada, within Canada, like Canadian Cancer Society, the YAC group I was telling you, and the Lymphoma Leukemia Society of Canada, which is a blood cancer community. So I started, reaching out, and we connected. I connected with them, and we shared stories, we collaborated. And I felt like, this is what I want to do. I want to make an impact. I want to share my journey, and, maybe one person or two-person around the world would be helped, would get that help. But during this whole time, the one thing which was missing was I could not see someone, with our color, with brown, brown people, with our community. And I was like, why? Why I don't see my own people? I always see Canadians and other people out there, but why I don't see my own Asian people? And that's how when I dig down, I researched, I came to know that, we don't talk. We don't talk about cancer. There's a big stigma around it. And that's what I wanted to change. That's where I really wanted to make a difference. So last year when I was in Toronto, in 2023, sorry, when I was in Toronto, I was a speaker at one of the events where I was talking about the stigma around South Asian community for cancer. And I met a friend over there who was a cancer survivor too. And we talked and we thought, why don't we start a page called Chai and Hope?
Yeah, I get.
So, Chai and Hope, which is a page for South Asian cancer people.
Okay.
It's an open space, it's an open platform where people can come and talk about their journey. They can meet other people because that's what is missing right now. And that's what I want to, break. I want to break that silence. And I understand there are a lot of things we don't talk about. We don't talk about mental illness. We don't talk about domestic violence. We don't talk about these
I was
things.
about to say that mental health is another big stigma in our country. There are so many suicide.
Cancer reflects that. Like when someone is diagnosed with cancer, whether it's young adult or whether it's older age, they go through that mental trauma, right? And not talking would make it more worse. So I feel like these are the things which we really need to come forward and, make that change. Like India is growing, and but why we are still not doing all those things, right?
So I think India really needs, some free spaces, organizations which encourages, cancer patients to come and talk about their experience. And
I totally agree with you because I feel like I came across a lot of different people through social media who are cancer patients, cancer survivors who are based out of India. And they're doing and making a difference. But I feel there are very less organizations who support, cancer programs, who support those patients. And I feel that we need more of these organizations to come forward, and we need more of these stories from people, so that they can actually talk about it and, have an open conversation about cancer and don't think about that cancer is something which is not being talked, right? So I think that is the change we need to make.
I think talking helps a lot. You unload so much that is on your mind.
Yeah. And it has helped me a lot. Like the more I talk, the more I've healed. So, yeah.
So, are there any self care practices or lifestyle changes that you follow now?
So for me, after my diagnosis and treatment, it took a lot of time for me to, I said, right, to walk
Yeah.
and to do anything. But over there, I've started. There was a program which was for cancer rehabilitation program for patients. So I joined that because I could not move or do anything. So I did that for 2 years, and I'm still on that program where I do yoga, meditation, journaling has really helped me. And just doing what you feel is right, and just listen to your body. If you feel that something is too much for you, just I would just say just listen to your body, and I've been doing that. Yeah, don't overburden yourself, don't feel like you can do so much. But after cancer, you feel like, oh, I can do so many things, but it's not. Sometimes it's just too much for me. But I have been taking care of my health. I've been eating properly. I've been doing meditation and yoga. Journaling has helped me, writing has helped me. So these are the things which has really helped me in my journey.
That's so nice. Okay. So, any last message to the listeners?
I would like to only say to your audience that please never lose hope, and ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. And I would also like to say that always listen to your body. be your own health advocate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harjeet, for sharing your story with us today. It means a lot to us.
Thank you for having me. And, I'm so grateful that I could do this in India, because I really want people in India to listen to these stories and make a difference.
Thank you guys for tuning into today's episode. I hope Harjeet's story has left you feeling inspired and motivated to face your own challenges. Please remember that while cancer may take away your physical strength, it cannot take away your mental spirit. You are stronger than you think and you can overcome any obstacle. If you are someone who wishes to share their story with the world, please leave us a message on Instagram. Until next time, stay empowered and keep smiling.